Hello, this is Anthony Pinella, the superintendent of the Amherst Central School District. Thank you for tuning in to learn more about our COVID-19 reopening plan. We started our planning process in May by forming our committees, reviewing survey data, and reading guidance from the CDC and other states across the country. We created a draft plan in anticipation of guidance from New York State Departments of Health and Education. Our plan was created by a 6-committee task force with more than 100 stakeholders representing the community, Board of Education, students, parents, teachers, and staff. It is important to note that our plan is a living document that will continue to be refined over time. School districts were asked to create plans for reopening by July 31st. The New York State Department of Health released guidance for schools on July 13th, and the New York State Education Department released guidance on July 16th. The guidance was revised on July 22nd. On Friday, August 7th, the governor announced that school districts in New York State can reopen, but left it up to each individual district to decide how. He also added some additional requirements for us to address. Our reopening plan includes 3 instructional models: an in-person instructional model where 100% of the students attend school full-time, a hybrid instructional model where 50% of the students attend school 2 days a week, and full-time remote instructional model where all students learn from home. You will hear more about our instructional models later in the presentation, but it is important to note that we will be implementing our hybrid instructional model to start the 2021 school year with the ability to opt in to the full-time remote instructional model. Our plan meets and exceeds the nearly 90 assurances in the categories of communication and family engagement, health and safety, facilities, child nutrition, transportation, social emotional well-being, school schedules, technology and connectivity, teaching and learning, special education, and bilingual education and world languages. Email will continue to be our primary form of communication, but we will also use social media, text messaging, robocalls, and the reopening section of our website. We have amended the 2021 calendar to better support our students and staff as they return to school. September 9th will be an orientation day for students entering kindergarten, grade 6, and grade 9. More specific information about the orientation programs will be sent to families by the building principals. The first day of student attendance will be September 10 for students in cohort 1 and September 11 for students in cohort 2. Election Day, November 3rd, will be a day of remote teaching and learning for all because some of our schools will be used as polling places, and there will be no school on November 25th. All parent-teacher conferences are to be determined. If necessary, they will be conducted virtually.
Hello, I'm Mike Belisle, our Assistant Superintendent for Student and Staff Services. The health and safety of our students, families, staff, and visitors is of primary importance to all of us. The district is approaching the health and well-being of our students and staff with clear and consistent protocols, including the now familiar topics of social distancing, personal protective equipment, hygiene practices, screening and monitoring, and procedures in our nurses' offices. Training in each of these areas will be provided to students and staff during the first days of school so students feel comfortable. I am happy to outline the key points on some of these topics. Social distancing will include reducing the number of individuals in the school at one time, as in our hybrid model, and use of barriers, including some polycarbonate barriers the district has obtained for staff to use. Generally, all individuals in the building at one time will maintain a minimum 6-foot distance when possible. 12 feet will be required with activities such as band, chorus, and running and physical education, for example. It is important to note here that visitors will be strictly limited, as Mr. Piniella alluded to only emergent needs. Teachers and administrators will be asked to hold most parent meetings remotely. We know this is not ideal, but certainly safer for our families and staff. Cohorts, or consistent groups of students, will be maintained as much as possible in our buildings. This is particularly evident at our elementary levels. Protocols have also been developed to complete the necessary emergency drills, and principals will work closely with teachers to make sure students find success given the limitations of social distancing. Use of personal protective equipment, primarily masks, will be mandated for all students, staff, and approved visitors. We are encouraging everyone to bring their own mask for the sake of comfort, but the district has purchased some in case they are needed. Our Amherst Tigers Boosters Club has created some outstanding options for us as well. Certain students and staff may require additional or alternate options, and we will work with anyone in need on an individual basis. Mask breaks will be an important part of the day for all individuals, and particularly on warm days. These will be coordinated by classroom teachers during the day and at lunch when safe. We understand masks will be difficult for children, but safety is a priority. It will be important for our staff to ensure students are using proper hand washing and respiratory hygiene. There will be many opportunities in the day to wash or disinfect hands. Please help to encourage good hygiene at home and before coming to school in the morning. The support of our families is so greatly appreciated, and as a parent, hygiene is always a welcome challenge. Relative to screening, students and families will complete a self-assessment of symptoms before leaving home in the morning, just as staff will. We ask that parents please assist their children as necessary to build a routine of self-monitoring every day. We will send you a protocol soon to help you as well, and we'll resend it throughout the coming weeks and months. Student temperature checks will occur at specific entrances at each building with the use of efficient temperature scanners, allowing for a smooth entry into the building. These look much like a small digital camera. Staff will be at the doors as well to help support children and to ensure a safe and supportive start to their day. If someone presents with signs of illness during the day, the protocol will be for them to be isolated in a care room, typically next to the nurse's office, and sent home to you. The nurse's office will look much like a pediatrician's office structure with a well room and a care room. We will work with and communicate with you if there is a positive case or if you need any help, including testing. We will also work with Erie County Department of Health on contact tracing efforts led by their offices. As questions come up throughout the school year, the district has designated district safety coordinators and building level resource persons for you to reach out to as a primary resource. This will start with your building principal and school nurse. We greatly value your involvement and support, so please reach out to us so we are aware of any needs that exist. We strive for perfect, but can only get there together. You may be asking yourself, what are some specific information or questions you may have to your building? I'm happy to say that later in this presentation, there will be some greater specifics with regards to each building your child may attend.
Hello, this is Laura Bazinski, the School Business Administrator. Reducing the risk of exposure to COVID-19 by cleaning and disinfecting is an important part of reopening. We will follow the guidelines for cleaning and disinfecting from the Center for Disease Control and the New York State Department of Health. HTOs, or highly touched objects, such as doorknobs and handrails, will be cleaned and disinfected multiple times throughout the day. Bathrooms will have additional cleaning and disinfecting during the school day. As the middle school and high school students will be eating lunch in the cafeterias or gymnasiums, those spaces will be cleaned and disinfected between each lunch period. The elementary students will eat in their classrooms, so those spaces will be cleaned and disinfected at the end of each day. To assist our facility staff and to further support these efforts, we will be hiring contract cleaners to ensure all required cleaning and disinfecting is completed daily. In addition to cleaning, we will also be making adjustments to our heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems to increase the amount of fresh air in our buildings. Typically, our systems are set to bring in 10% of fresh air. We will increase that to the maximum system allowance of 30%. Our regular filters have been replaced with MERV 13 filters, which have a higher efficiency for capturing particulate in the air, which can carry the COVID virus. Windows will be opened as much as possible for as long as the weather allows. We have also purchased individual HEPA filtration systems, which will be used in smaller spaces, such as the nurses' offices and the care rooms in each building. Hygiene barriers will be, or in some cases already have been, installed in areas of high interaction between staff and students. Hygiene barriers are also located in student classrooms and in the care rooms in each building. To encourage good hygiene practices, we have increased the number of opportunities students and staff have to wash and sanitize their hands. Portable hand washing stations have been installed in each building. Bathroom sink faucets have been updated and replaced to encourage longer washing times as recommended by the CDC and the Department of Health. Hand sanitizers have been placed in each classroom, and portable hand sanitizers are located in various locations in the 4 buildings. To help further prevent the spread of the virus, our indoor and outdoor facilities will remain closed to organized outside group activities. As such, we will not be approving any building permits until further notice. However, community members may continue to use our outdoor facilities for light recreational activities as long as proper social distancing guidelines are adhered to. A successful nutrition program is a key component to a successful educational environment. Children cannot focus on learning when they are hungry. School meals boost learning, and studies show that students perform best academically when they are well nourished. Knowing this, we have developed a continued food service plan which makes both breakfast and lunch accessible to all students, whether they are receiving instruction in person or remotely. Elementary students will eat both breakfast and lunch meals in their classrooms. Special considerations will be in place to protect students with dietary restrictions. Secondary students in grades 6 through 12 will be assigned to eat lunch either in the cafeteria or in one of the gymnasiums. All students will be seated 6 feet apart to allow for mask removal while eating. For students participating in remote instruction, breakfast and lunch will be available through a pre-ordering system. Pre-ordered meals will be available for drive-through pickup Monday through Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 11 o'clock a.m. at the Windermere Cambridge Loop. My School Bucks will continue to be utilized for student meal accounts, so parents will always know what the available meal balances are for their students. Consistent, safe, and dependable transportation to and from school is essential for students to learn, achieve, and find success in the classroom. We will continue to partner with First Student to provide this valuable students to our valuable service to our students and families. Transportation services will also continue to be provided to non-public students residing within our district boundaries, to non-public schools and charter schools in accordance with our current policies and procedures. All school buses will be cleaned and disinfected daily. Additionally, highly touched objects on buses, such as handrails, will be disinfected between runs when possible. When the weather allows, school buses will transport students with roof hatches and/or windows slightly opened to provide increased airflow. But like everything else, a successful transportation program will require the cooperation of everyone involved. Parents will be required to screen and temperature check their students before heading to the bus stop or stepping onto a school bus. If a child is exhibiting symptoms or has a fever of 100 degrees, he or she needs to stay home. All students and family members waiting at the bus stop need to practice safe social distancing, including maintaining a minimum 6-foot separation between families and wearing appropriate face coverings or masks. Once the bus arrives, all students are required to wear appropriate face coverings or masks while on the bus. Seating will be as socially distanced as possible, with one student assigned to each seat. Siblings and family members will be assigned 2 or 3 to a seat. Our reopening plan does not include any late buses as no after-school activities have been scheduled. This will be reevaluated as we move through the school year. We understand that before and after school care is a concern for many of our families, especially those with younger students. Because of this, we have continued our partnership with both Just for Kids and People Inc. to provide services to our students. The safety and screening measures established for our school day are also in effect during our before and after school programs, along with the requirements set forth by the New York State Office of Child and Family Services. While in the programs, students will be maintained in groups of 10 to limit their exposures to larger numbers of individuals. Students and program staff will be required to wear masks and will provide frequent opportunities for hand washing and sanitizing. The spaces utilized by the programs will be cleaned and disinfected prior to use on the regular school day. The before school program is open to Windermere Boulevard Elementary students in grades K through 5 and is operated by Just for Kids. We have 2 after school programs. Just for Kids operates a program in both Windermere Boulevard Elementary and Smallwood Drive Elementary schools for students in grades K through 5. People Inc. operates programs in Smallwood Drive Elementary schools for grades K through 5 and in our high school for grades 9 through 12 for students who require additional supports. Both of our childcare partners, JFK and People Inc., will continue to operate these programs whether we are in Plan A, fully in-person instruction, Plan B, our hybrid model of instruction. Students will be eligible to participate in the childcare programs if they are scheduled for in-person instruction on that specific day. If we are required to move to Plan C, fully remote instruction, no before or after school childcare programming will be offered.
Hello, this is Mr. Belisle back again with you. As the district-wide reopening committees began to discuss the return of our students and staff, it was quickly recognized that social and emotional well-being of our Amherst family rose to the top of the list. Our SEL, or Social Emotional Learning Committee, has spent a great deal of time developing our reopening plans that allow for a great deal of breadth and depth so that we may respond to the needs of everyone in this trying time while also addressing individual needs that may come up at any time. I want to thank the members of our committee, including the many teachers, PPS staff, parents, board members, student, community members, and administrators who have offered their perspective and expertise on this important topic. As you can see on this slide, New York State guidance provided 4 needed components with regards to our SEL planning. All 4 components are firmly addressed within our plan, including a link to our current school counseling plan, a collaborative work committee, access to proper resources and referrals for services, and both resources and professional development on how to support students and staff to successfully manage this challenging time. The district's SEL plan is nearing completion as the committee continues their work for another session later this week. The plan is structured in what is known as a multi-tiered systems of support framework, or MTSS to some. This format identifies needs for all individuals at Tier 1, where you see the green in the pyramid at the bottom. More individualized supports come into play at Tiers 2 and 3. These are the yellow and red tiers you see toward the middle and top of the pyramid. As you move up the pyramid, we should find fewer people needing specific supports because our goal is to address the needs of our community in a proactive and preventative fashion at reopening and Tier 1 as much as possible. Our committee decided to create interventions at a reopening stage prior to the green Tier 1 stage, knowing that those first days and weeks of reopening will be most challenging. This will be particularly true for our students transitioning into kindergarten, 6th, and 9th grade. The district, as you have heard, is planning for transition days to support our students as they enter a new building and experience positive first days of school coming into their new setting. At this proactive reopening stage, the district will also be seeking out information prior to school through screening measures sent to families and our staff that are meant to identify any needs before the start of school. This will allow us to put supports in place right away. Please keep an eye out for these screening requests in the coming weeks. Additional screening measures will also be completed at school with students within the first month to assess their transition. Overall, our plan addresses a broad spectrum of concern, including those that may be related to health concerns, social justice concerns in our country, or general fears and anxiety. What you see here on this slide are just a few structural examples of what you will find within the full plan. Please don't strain your eyes trying to read some of the content as I'm just sharing the general structure to the plan. What is important to point out here is that there are supports in place not just for students, but for families and our staff. As you view the plan, it is broken down into chunks for elementary students, secondary students, families, and faculty or staff. Each chunk has support systems for the reopening tier, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. The last section of the plan provides a thorough list of resources and strategies for families and staff looking for ideas pertaining to any topic relative to social and emotional well-being. For example, outlines of lessons pertaining to coping skills are provided, outside referrals for parents are provided, and resources through our HR office are provided for faculty and staff.
Hello, I'm Lynn Shanahan, the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Instruction, and Technology. We are pleased to have this opportunity today to share with you our instructional plans that will be continuing to evolve and develop as we receive feedback from our committees and all of our stakeholders. We were asked to develop 3 instructional plans that will vary based on health and safety needs. Plan A, the in-person instructional model, has all K-12 students attending school for a full day, Monday through Friday. Pre-K students would attend their regularly scheduled half-day, Monday through Friday. Students would follow a typical academic schedule with established precautions for maintaining health and safety, such as social distancing, with being 6 feet apart or having barriers. Plan A limits large group and social gatherings to allow for the prioritization of student and staff health and safety. Plan B, the hybrid instructional model, will be used when it is necessary to reduce the student population by approximately 50% and allow for social distancing. Students are divided into 2 cohorts and attend school in person on alternate days, with Wednesday being a remote learning day. Plan C is our full-time remote instructional model. Our opt-in for the full-time virtual would also follow the same model. It's used in the event of a school or district closure. In the full-time remote instructional model, students do not attend the physical school building. All teaching and learning takes place remotely through synchronous, that means real time, and asynchronous, you schedule the time more independently, instruction. In the next few slides, I'll provide more detail on the hybrid and remote models. The elementary Plan B hybrid instructional model looks slightly different from the middle school and high school. Similar to the middle school and high school, the elementary students are divided into 2 cohorts. However, they attend school in person on alternating days, Monday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Friday, meaning they will have both at home and in-school learning days. When at home, students will engage in learning through Google Classroom and other digital resources, as well as paper pencil practice. When they are in school, they will engage in typical face-to-face learning experiences. On Wednesdays, all elementary students will engage in synchronous instruction, where they will engage in some sort of instructional reading and math time synchronously in real time, and other subjects asynchronously. On Wednesdays, elementary students will have the opportunity to practice remote instruction with the planning that we may have to shift to remote instruction at some point in time. So the transition will be smooth. All students are assigned Monday through Friday a daily check-in time with their class so that students and teachers stay connected and focus on social and emotional learning. Now I'll shift to the middle school and high school hybrid model. The middle school and high school hybrid model follows something called a concurrent synchronous hybrid model, meaning that Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, students from both cohorts in person and at home will participate in live classes at the same time. Having class synchronously or at the same time, 4 days a week with both cohort groups will allow us to meet the New York State standards more efficiently. On Wednesdays, the middle school and high school students will engage in independent or asynchronous instruction where they will log in synchronously to their homeroom, but then work independently for the rest of the day, where their teachers will be available for office hours to help them with some of their assignments or some specific learning that is necessary. All students are assigned a daily check-in time, Monday through Friday, with their classes so that students and teachers can stay connected, focus on social emotional learning. And then I want to take Laura, Ms. Bazinski, could you click the middle school bell schedule? So the middle school's bell schedule has been slightly modified. It will be 30-minute classes with an 8-minute passing time. Can you just scroll up a little bit so people can see the bell schedule? Thank you. They will have staggered arrival and dismissals to maintain the health and safety of our students. And this will allow them also more time in between classes to pass with the 8-minute passing time. So this schedule will be posted on our website for parents to take a closer look at. Can we go to the high school schedule, please? The high school schedule has 39-minute periods with 6 minutes transitions between those periods, and they will also have an arrival and dismissal time that is staggered, and they will carefully have longer transition periods between classes so that they are safely moving from one class to another across the school day. This schedule will also be posted on our website for you to take a closer look at. And back to the PowerPoint. Thank you. So to the next slide, please. Thank you. So shifting to the full-time remote instructional model, the full-time remote instructional model will follow in the middle school and high school will follow those 2 bell schedules that you just saw. So if and when we switch from a hybrid to a full-time remote instructional model, students should have the exact same schedule. This will help students to stay on track and clear up any type of confusion that could occur. So in the event that the school district closes, students will not attend the physical building in the remote setting. All teaching and learning will take place synchronously through that bell schedule. On this slide, I'm going to give you a brief overview and then go into more detail on the following slides. Students will be required to log into their morning meeting, home base or homeroom, Monday through Friday. On Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, students will follow a set schedule for synchronous instruction. Synchronous instruction at the elementary level will focus mainly on the New York State ELA and math standards, and there will be some asynchronous focus on science and social studies. At the middle and high school, synchronous instruction will include all scheduled courses. On Wednesdays, after students log into their morning meetings, home bases, or homerooms, they will work asynchronously independently across the day at their own pace. Teachers will hold office hours at designated times during the day to meet with students as needed. As you know, the opt-in full-time remote instruction for middle school and high school students, the model would look exactly the same as our hybrid model. The 2 models will look exactly the same. You'll follow a bell schedule just like you would if you were in person or at home. Because, oops, elementary, back one, please. There. The elementary remote model is slightly different due to the developmental ages of the students. So all teaching and learning will take place remotely. There'll be a synchronous and asynchronous component. However, students will be required to log in just like they always would for their morning meeting. Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, they will follow a synchronous schedule, and I will share with you some samples in a minute. What's important to note about this is there will be some small group instructional time in both reading and math, as well as whole group instruction in ELA, math, science, and social studies that will all link with the standards. Once again, Wednesdays, students would log in for their morning meeting, and across the day, they would do some more independent work at their own pace and when we move to the hybrid model. And so if you go to the next slide, we can take a look at a sample schedule. So this is a sample schedule. Our elementary teachers this week are currently working on crafting those and designing those for each grade level. The K through 1 schedule reduces some of the amount of screen time that is a concern for our students. And on Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, they're going to follow their set synchronous schedule. Once again, meeting the ELA math standards as well as science and social studies. Note that there will be whole group ELA instruction, and then there will be small group synchronous instruction in ELA and math that will be specifically tailored to students' needs so that we can have growth in both reading and mathematics. Science and social studies will continue to be taught in a whole group setting, and our specials will be asynchronous. Note that the synchronous time from 9 to 10 in reading and 10:30 to 11:30 in math are 15 minutes in duration, and that is due to developmental age. You could move to the K to 2. Oh, so it's 2 to 3, my apologies. So 2 to 3, the only difference here is we increase the amount of synchronous time and the amount of asynchronous time because of students' developmental age. So we go from 15 minutes in K to 1 for in small group instructional reading to 20 minutes. And we do that in both reading and math. And the next one. Once again, 4 and 5, you'll see a slight increase in the instructional time that teachers and students will have together. And this is due to the developmental attention of kids as they progress through grades K through 5. So technology and connectivity. The technology and connectivity, we are now going to be a one-to-one school. So in the 2020-2021 school year, we are going to be one-to-one K through 12. K and 1 have touchscreen interactive tablets and or Chromebooks dependent on age, and 2 through 12 have Chromebook laptops. If you need internet access, Mr. Pinella already provided a survey asking who needed internet access, and we can provide that. And if you did not get a chance to connect through that survey, please reach out to us. We also have technical support teams. We have an instructional technical support team, which deals with if you're struggling or your child is struggling with Google Classroom or some other application that they have to use as a learning tool. The other support team is with devices and connectivity issues. We will have one email address and phone number that you can call, and based on what the issue is, you will get a response back from one of the two teams. We'll distribute accordingly to the appropriate team. We also created last year for the elementary, and we're adding on this year for the secondary, a website for students and families. This website provides step-by-step directions on how to gain access to all of the resources that the students will be using, and it also has the capability to be translated into multiple languages. A new way that we will address the password issue, especially for our youngest learners, is we will have all students enter into their digital space through something called Tiger Links. This will be our launch pad for all district-approved applications and Google Classroom. Once a child or a student is in that space, they can access all of their applications without any usernames or passwords. And we hope that this assists some of our families after the springtime. Google Classroom will be our online learning management system. We had great success with it last year, and we're going to continue to build on that success and improve our instruction and improve our delivery for families.
I'm Mariato. I'm the Director of Special Education and PPS. We are always dedicated to providing our students with an exemplary education. This particularly includes students with disabilities and our English language learners, given the many challenges they face right now. Special education services will be provided consistent with the student's IEP to the greatest extent possible. Our teachers and related service providers, such as our social workers, occupational therapists, physical therapists, and speech language pathologists, will communicate with families so that we can continue to work together to address student needs. During in-person instruction, students with disabilities will be provided all services consistent with their IEP, while also maintaining the required health and safety guidelines. If a family chooses to receive instruction through a full-time remote model, the district will provide all services on the student's IEP to the greatest extent practicable. This will be similar to the fully remote scenario if school is forced to dismiss students due to local health concerns. In a hybrid model, most students will attend with their designated cohorts. The exception will be for students in our 811, 813, or 1211 self-contained programs, grades K through 12, and for our integrated co-taught students in grades kindergarten through second grade only. These groups of most vulnerable students will be able to meet and attend in person Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday on site with remote instruction on Wednesday. District-wide, we have already begun to complete in-person CSD evaluations for students that were referred to the committee through the use of digital platforms and document cameras that allow for in-person evaluations. Please contact your special education teacher, school psychologist, or our district special education office if you have any questions. Lastly, the district will continue to work closely with families and staff to schedule CSE meetings. We will be using a digital platform to reduce the need for visitors and to more easily allow for social distancing when a number of individuals are essential to properly discuss the needs of our students. Ultimately, it is extremely important to our district that we maintain effective communication and positive collaboration with our Amherst families when making important decisions for our students. If you have a concern or a question, you are welcome to reach out to any of our staff. For our English language learners, or ELLs for short, we will continue to identify and provide necessary services on site when a student is present. If services are provided remotely, ENL teachers will work collaboratively with classroom teachers to provide individualized lessons and appropriate accommodations. In a hybrid model, most EL students will attend with their cohorts, with the exception of students in grades kindergarten through second, who may attend on site in the hybrid model Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, with remote instruction on Wednesday. EL students who have enrolled since the school dismissal in the spring due to the pandemic will complete the identification process upon returning to on-site school during the upcoming school year. Lastly, the district has developed a Google support site on the district website that will serve as a resource to both students and parents of English language learners. The Parents Guide for Google Classrooms has been translated into many languages, and others can be translated as needed. Please ask your teacher or building administration if you need assistance or any other document that you might need translated into a different language.
Hello, I'm Richard Crozier, principal of Smallwood Drive Elementary School. The Amherst Central School District elementary schools have collaborated closely to have consistent policies and procedures throughout each building. While specifics about each building might differ slightly, for example, building starting times, the makeup of each plan is identical. I am pleased to partner with Mrs. Flanagan, principal of Windermere Boulevard School, to highlight some of the hundreds of modifications that we are implementing in each building to ensure the health and safety of our students, faculty, and staff. We have staggered our arrival and dismissal times to reduce density and allow for full social distancing at all times. Bus arrival and dismissal, parent pickup and drop-off times and locations have also been changed to ensure safety. More detailed communication will be shared by each building in the coming weeks. The New York State Education Department guidance recommends cohorting students whenever possible. The cohort model reduces in-school movement and keeps our elementary students with the same students all day and in the same classroom for most of the day. Due to the fact that the elementary schools are in the cohort model, transitions in our hallways have been significantly minimized. For the few times that students transition, one-way hallways and stairwells will be marked with directional signage every 20 feet. The New York State guidance also recommends the possibility of lunch in the classroom. The elementary schools have worked closely with our food services department, ensuring nutritious lunches are delivered to the classrooms each day. Social distancing of at least 6 feet will occur at all times during lunches in the classrooms. Next slide, please. Keeping with ensuring the health and safety of all in our building, we are excited to share that every elementary student will have their own desk in their classroom. No other child will use that desk throughout the year. Individual supplies that will never be shared will be stored in that desk, and students will be separated by at least 6 feet while sitting at their desks. As recommended by the New York State guidance, the Amherst Central District Elementary Schools will be implementing a push-in model to reduce transitions in our hallway and keep students within their cohort. Special areas such as art and library will push in. When possible, music and physical education classes will be held outside to meet the 12-foot social distancing for singing and rigorous activity requirement. We are excited to share an emphasis on social and emotional learning throughout the district, including in both elementary schools. While social emotional learning is nothing new in our schools, both buildings will be mandating at minimum 20 to 30 minutes of SEL each day for our students. Our social and emotional reopening task force is providing our faculty and staff with many resources to support children's social and emotional health as we transition back to school. In connection with making the safety of our school our top priority, there will be no visitors permitted in our buildings. Virtual meetings over Zoom and Google Meets will be encouraged and held with families whenever needed.
Hello, I'm Julie Flanagan, the principal at Windermere. Hygiene is very important, and we will be teaching proper hygiene daily throughout the schools. A routine schedule for washing hands has been established. Face masks are also mandatory, even for our youngest students. In pre-K through 5th grade, they are required to wear a face mask on the bus and in school. Several mask breaks will be provided throughout the day. Social distancing is an area that we will practice and reinforce so students can maintain a space of 6 feet at all times. To support our youngest learners as they enter school, all pre-K through 5 elementary teachers will host a virtual open house. It will be an opportunity for parents and students to virtually see their teachers and classrooms prior to starting the first day at school.
Greetings, this is Dr. Griesmer, the Amherst Middle School principal. Happy to speak with you today about a day in the life of an Amherst Middle School student under our hybrid scenario primarily. As you've heard, our arrival and dismissal processes have been altered, and mainly we are staggering our arrival and dismissal times into 3 groups in the morning and 6 groups in the afternoon. We will communicate those to families in the near future. Temperature checks will be conducted upon arrival each day via large group temperature screening cameras. Anyone registering a temperature of 100 degrees Fahrenheit or higher will be checked further by our nurse. Arrival and dismissal will take place in 3 separate areas of the school, and those will be clearly outlined depending on whether or not you take the bus or walk, ride your bike, or get dropped off by car. To facilitate our arrival and dismissal and between period movements throughout the building, we will be temporarily relaxing our no backpack policy, and in fact, encouraging students to utilize their backpacks this year, starting with getting ready for home base and what we hope will be all of their classes prior to lunch, so that they do not need to visit their lockers in between periods as often as they have needed to do so in the past. When it's time for lunch, we envision them stopping at their lockers and then getting their afternoon books squared away. Once a child gets through the screening process, they will move to home base and get ready to start their day. You'll hear about the classroom setup momentarily. But one more word about hallway transitions. We've set up the hallways with proper signage such that they will be one-way directional during arrival, dismissal, and between periods. During a class period, however, they will go back to being bidirectional hallways to accommodate a child who may need to use the restroom or visit another teacher. Next slide, please. In terms of the classroom setup that I referenced a few minutes ago, you can rest assured that every classroom will have 6 feet of distance between all desks. Every desk will have a polycarbonate barrier on it, as you can see featured in the photograph to the left of this slide. And the same will be true whether or not it is an on-team class, as we call them, or off-team special area class. But to be clear, at Amherst Middle School for this upcoming school year in the hybrid scenario, students will be moving from class to class between periods, regardless of the type of class, and they will also be moving to our cafeterias for lunch, which you see featured on the photograph to the right. The lunchroom area has been converted to have only desks spread 6 feet apart, and as you know, students are permitted to take their masks off to eat lunch once they have gotten to their seat. A quick word about distancing before the slide is changed in the special areas. Know that we've made the necessary accommodations for phys ed, band, and chorus to be spread at that 12-foot distance if a student were to sing or play a wind instrument or participate in vigorous physical education exercise. Next slide, please. And a word now about hygiene, PPE, and social distancing. We will have significant amounts of training for faculty, staff, and students about proper hygiene, proper techniques for washing hands, sanitizing, coughing, etc. And students will have multiple time throughout the day to make that happen between periods, during periods, before and after lunch, etc. And we have the school outfitted with proper signage as well to reinforce those healthy habits that we will all partake in. Masks, to be clear, students at Amherst Middle School will need to wear their masks on the bus and in our school at all times, unless it is during lunch and they're seated, or unless it is during a predetermined mask break run by one of our adults, faculty and staff throughout the day while they are seated. And then finally, I suppose there would be one exception again to what I just said, in that if students are spread at 12 feet in physical education or wind instrument settings or chorus, that the mask would be removed again. Social distancing relative to the 6-foot rule that we're all familiar with will not only be maintained relative to furniture in the classroom, but also during passing time. There is signage in the hallways, and we will be speaking with all of our students about doing all that they can to be good AMS class citizens and maintain 6 foot of distance even when we're passing between class. And I believe that's it for that slide. In my time, Mr. Pigeon, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Griesmer, and we're very, very excited and eager to have our Tigers back and welcome them in September. Our class of 2021, our seniors, as well as the incoming freshman class of 2024. We've been planning extensively, really since March and April, with an eye towards reopening and working together, because we want to provide a safe, positive learning environment and kind of preserve those elements that we value in this community: tradition, pride, and achievement, and having a warm and nurturing environment at the high school. So we're really looking forward to having our Tigers back. There's many parallels to the high school plan, to all of the K through 12 planning. So I'll highlight some of those items that are very parallel, as well as things that are slightly different at the high school level. Our arrival and dismissal will have some similarities in terms of our bus traffic and parent drop-offs and walkers. However, we will have 3 areas, just like the middle school, where we'll be asking and communicating with parents where those drop-off points will be, and we'll finalize those and make sure you know those well before school is starting. That will give us a nice staggered movement into the building in the mornings where we can maintain social distancing. Students will be screened at those 3 screening points in the morning, and with that herd technology that we have, infrared. That'll be a very quick pace, a good way to begin the day and start through the process that really won't cause any issues in terms of getting in the building quickly, with a mind towards the winter that comes and such. We really want students to come in the building quickly and get on their way to class. We do have a change in the bell schedule, and thanks to Dr. Shanahan, she's already given you a preview of that. Our classes will be slightly shorter, 39 minutes as opposed to 42, and we'll have 6 minutes of passing time in between. So that gives us an extra 2 minutes to do a couple things. First, stagger our exits out of the classroom. So there'll be a 1-minute staggering of that. That'll smooth the hallway traffic into the hallways. We're also asking students, we've always allowed backpacks at the high school, so we don't have a big locker culture at the high school, but we're asking students at our level to manage their locker visits and reduce those, so we have good flow throughout the building. And that will also stagger them coming into incoming classes as well. So we'll watch that very closely. And we're also going to do one-way hallways and one-way up and down stairwells. And we'll watch that traffic in the building very closely, because we just really want smooth social distancing. And we need kids to get used to that. And I know that's not normal teenage behavior, to not socialize and not move together. We're going to have to get them accustomed to staying 6 feet apart for their own safety, for the adult safety in the building, and so they can really get and focus on their learning. So moving with a purpose in the hallways. We will extend our homeroom, and we are going to have it be 19 minutes. That's about double the time of what it used to be, for a few reasons. We will have students at home on their home days, so we'll check them in virtually, as well as have seated students in front of us. So a little bit of longer homeroom. This will give us time to unfold a number of training things that Dr. Griesmer and the other principals have mentioned about really reinforcing those safety and hygiene things that they'll need to learn. Also, just to kind of get the nuts and bolts of some of our new procedures in place early in the school year. So we'll extend that homeroom. It'll be a good home base for them to get a lot of important information and get their day started in a positive way with their peers and their homeroom teachers. So that will move us into the hallway transitions, which I hinted at a little bit, which will be one-way up and down stairwells in a little bit of extended time, which also promotes those hygiene breaks that we're going to be training kids, hand washing, and all of those proper things, giving them time to do that. Our classroom setup looks very, very similar to what you saw from Dr. Griesmer's slides. We will have the 6 feet of social distancing. Our classrooms are a lot of different various sizes, but in general, they will average to be able to accommodate anywhere from 11 to 13 students. In some cases, some of our bigger classrooms can in some of our common areas, like the multi-purpose room and our innovation lab, we can hold as many as 20 students comfortably socially distanced. So we're going to use all those spaces accordingly, and we're combing over our master schedule to really maximize those spaces and be able to use those. We will also have the polycarbonate barriers on each student desk, so that extra layer of protection for students. So it's going to be a little bit different environment that students are used to, more spacious. However, it will really be conducive to learning. And you can see in many ways it looks spread out, but it also looks like a traditional classroom. So We're fortunate to have that option and a number of options, a lot of good rooms in our building to make that happen. Something unique to the high school is our CTE programs and students that go to Harkness Potter and the Kenton Career Center. Erie One BOCES also is doing a hybrid schedule. They are making use of all 5 days, so the rotation will be slightly different, but we will communicate very heavily what days Amherst kids are going. It's consistent by school, so all Amherst kids will be going to Harkness Potter and Kenton on the same days. And we are working with our transportation department, and we will have schedules, so something you put right up on the fridge, you know when your Harkness days are, and you'll know when you're going, and we'll communicate those heavily for you. Our cafeteria, our exciting cafeteria, it is being constructed as we speak right below me. You might hear a couple knocks and bangs. They are underway, and it's looking really, really great. So we're going to be able to use that facility and use some of the furniture that we did order for that to maintain social distancing. It's a bigger space, so it'll be an exciting place for our students to be, and it's really perfect timing for them. We'll remove some of those furniture pieces so that we can kind of guarantee that students will know exactly where to go. We are also adding a second cafeteria in our north gym area so that we can maintain social distancing. That'll be set up with desks, very much like you saw Dr. Griesmer's middle school cafeteria. So we'll have 2 cafeteria spaces that students will be able to use, and they will be able to really maintain a good social distance there as well. We plan on incorporating some outdoor spaces, and we're working and planning on some fun, exciting things that the students will be able to take advantage of the great outdoors. And I know I can predict we're going to have a wonderful fall. It's going to cooperate with us. So we want to get outside as much as we can, both during cafeteria times when we're eating, as well as inviting classrooms to come outside. And we'll make those kind of quasi-learning environments to get outside and enjoy the great outdoors while we can in Western New York. So those plans are underway. Hygiene, very similar. We're going to be training, promoting proper hygiene for student safety and just great habits for their lifestyles moving forward. So hand washing, proper coughing techniques, etc. We plan to use some of our leadership teams of Trailblazers and Pathfinders to do some fun videos to kind of promote that as well, and to have some teenage-centric characters in those videos to really make it something that's positive for the students and really get them used to these great habits that we have to form. We will have personal protective equipment in each classroom, which would include hand sanitizers, wall-mounted hand sanitizers in many, many rooms, as well as the polycarbonate barriers, the social distancing, tissues, and all of those type of supplies that you need. And they will have to, students at the high school and at all levels, will need to wear a mask most of the time. They will take it off when they're eating in the cafeteria. They would put it back on when they're done eating in the cafeteria and just kind of talking to their friends 6 feet away. They will have mask breaks in classrooms. They'll have them on most of class. And then an adult will direct a mask break of an appropriate length, and we'll work that into the routines. I think students will have to get used to this. Maybe they weren't wearing them so much this summer, but they will get used to it. And many of our students work at places where they work long shifts and have to wear masks. So at a teenage level, they will acclimate quickly, and we're really looking forward to a positive environment. And that's for everybody's safety, the adults in the building, their safety. And it's just a good habit in general in public to heading towards college, et cetera, workplaces, things like that. So we expect MAX will be a good culture. It's something that we really, really support. And we're going to need students to take personal responsibility for that as teenagers, to maintain that social distance and wear their mask, because that will what will make for a nurturing, positive environment at school. We'll promote that, and we'll promote it positively, and they will develop those great habits related to that. I have 100% faith that our Tigers will do a great job in this model and keep them safe and keep the learning going, which is a huge, huge part of this. And social distancing, which I just mentioned, is a big part of the equation. And it's tough to maintain social distancing when you're a teenager and you're socializing, but they will get used to it, and they will comply with what we need them to for their own safety and for the safety of you at home and the adults in the building. So we'll get used to that flow, and we'll work with them to make sure that that happens in a positive, nurturing environment where they can continue to learn. So welcome back, Tigers. We are looking forward to seeing you in a few short weeks. If you have any questions in the meantime about procedures in the high school or what's upcoming, your schedules, etc., we're going to have a lot of information coming your way. Keep tuned to your inboxes regularly because we're going to have a lot coming your way, getting ready for day one. Tigers will come in your way.
Thank you for taking the time to watch our presentation and learn more about our reopening plans. As I mentioned earlier, our plans are a living document and a work in progress. They will continue to be refined over time. We have several of our committees that will be meeting throughout the remainder of the summer to put the finishing touches on many of the things you heard about in the presentation today. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us should you have a question. The key for us to successfully open will be communication. On the screen, you'll see we have our hotline, reopening@amherstschools.org, which we will continue to monitor for frequently asked questions. And we also have emails for each of our building principals should you have a building specific question. Thank you very much.